Hi, my name is Richard Fink, and I am going to attempt to take a dead tarantula and encase this tarantula in casting resin. This is something I've never done before, so we shall see what happens. The tarantula is right over here. I'll get a close-up shot of this for you. Okay, here she is in her cage. This is where she died, on her back. She was actually trying to molt, and she hadn't been eating like she was supposed to, and she just didn't have enough strength to carry out the molting process, and so she died while she was molting, which actually tarantulas usually don't die that way. So she's been dead for over 2 years. Now, I did a little research on this casting thing. Again, I've never done this before. Evidently, casting resin on a critter is not an easy task, and I've never done it before. Also, I found out that you're supposed to, when these critters die, you're supposed to freeze them immediately, and I didn't do that. She's been in this cage for 2.5 years, so I don't know how well this is going to turn out. The first thing I'm going to do is, and this is just my own thinking, is I'm going to try and steam her body to soften her up to where I can stretch her legs out. So we'll see if this works. Okay, here she is on the little plate. I don't know if you can see her. All right, here she is in the pan. By the way, this is the same pan I use to cook vegetables in, so I'll serve dinner lately if anybody wants to come over. I rinsed her off because she had a little bit of dust on her, so I rinsed her off, so I'm going to let her steam for a while, and hopefully she'll be soft enough to where I can stretch her out without her legs crumbling or breaking or whatever. We'll see what happens. Okay, I have successfully steamed her and was able to open her legs up. She stinks. You know, the whole shop stinks. You know, because a lot of rotted stuff. But anyway, this is a close-up look at her. And what I'm trying to do right now is her abdomen right here is kind of shriveled up. So what I'm trying to do is make an incision here, and I'm going to try and stuff her with some cotton so this area fills out a little bit more. But so far, everything is actually going much better than expected. She's all stretched out, and so we will try. So right here, I'm going to try and make an incision and stuff some cotton or something in there to fill that out a little better. Okay, I have managed to, I didn't have any cotton, so I opened up a vitamin jar and got some cotton out of that. But I managed to stuff it a little bit, but it's badly deteriorated. Anyways, I was able to stuff it and kind of overlap the skin a little bit there. So I'm going to let her dry out, because she's really soft and moist right now. So I'm going to let her kind of dry out, and then a little bit, and then I'm going to maybe put a little super glue in this area to kind of reinforce it, and then I'll darken the cotton maybe with some marker or something so it blends in a little better. And then we'll take a look and see what I'm going to flip her and see what she looks like on the other side, and then if all goes well, we'll be ready to buy some casting resin. I didn't want to invest in the resin until I knew I could get her into a workable fashion. Please do not go away. The movie is not over with yet. Hello. So far I have restored the spider to the best of my ability, the tarantula. I made her a little plaque. I'm going to case in the resin and everything. I poured my first layer in here and followed the instructions, at least to the best of my ability, and I poured in 3 ounces in this glass vase thing that I found at Walmart. I thought it would make a good mold, and so I poured the first layer, and the object is you pour the first layer and then it solidifies. It gets sort of like pudding. It's got to be strong enough to be able to support your specimen. Then you put your spider in on top of it, and the resin kind of supports it, because you don't want the resin to sink all the way to the bottom, because you want some depth there with the resin being around it. So anyways, followed the instructions, mixed it up, but I'm not having the reaction that I'm supposed to be having. This is supposed to get almost so hot that you can't touch it. I mean, you should be able to touch it, but it's supposed to get really warm, and I'm not seeing any of that. It doesn't appear to be setting up and everything. So I've added more drops of hardener to the solution here and stirred it, and still waiting. It's like nothing's happening. It's like the catalyst is not working. Now it is 65 degrees in here, so it is a little on the cold side, but they even say optimal working conditions are right around 60 to 70 degrees. So for some reason this is not getting thicker, it's not getting any hardener, and I've added like 5 drops per ounce. This is 3 ounces of resin in here. I've added 15 drops of the hardener, plus I added an additional 14 directly into here and stirred it around, and still no reaction. So we'll see what happens. I've got $50 worth of resin on the line here, so hopefully we'll be able to make something work. But so far nothing has happened. Yeah, the mold here, as you can see, it's clear, but you'll notice that if I dip this in here, it's still way too liquidy. And we're probably going almost an hour since I initially stirred it up, and it should be almost like pudding. It shouldn't be doing that. So we shall see. And the little spider here is just waiting, Okay, it's starting to get hardened now a little bit, the resin. I added another 10 drops of resin to this, and I added a heater to help warm it up just a little bit. So it is starting to congeal. It's still very soft, and almost like, if you look here, it's like the consistency of Jello, or very heavy, thick molasses. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carefully take the spider and set it in on top of there, and then get my next batch of resin ready to go. So I added a total of 40 drops to 3 ounces of resin. So now that I've got a little bit of heat going, I might increase that to 45 drops for the next 3 ounces, and so we'll see where it goes. Alright, wish me luck. Okay, I have successfully laid the spider in the resin. As you can see here, she is set in there, and I positioned her because the first layer was solid enough to where I could set her on there without her sinking and everything, and I put a little label, a little plaque right in here telling about her. Okay, and now I poured in the second layer of resin around her. So I'm just waiting for that to solidify. I add more hardener to the resin, so hopefully it'll set up a little better. So here she is. She's starting to take shape. one of her legs came off, so I had to reposition it back on. But so far so good. My first attempt. Okay, I just got through pouring the third layer. So she's almost covered. 2 more layers, or about 6 more ounces ought to do it. So far so good. There you can see it had a side view of what she's starting to look like. Again, people who do this for a hobby or professionals are probably laughing at me, you know, but hey, this is my first one. And it's a large casting too, which makes it even more difficult. Alright. Getting ready for my 4th layer, and I've added the resin to a cup and stirring it up. I've got it marked here. That's approximately 3 ounces. And I'm getting ready to pour it on top of here. And here it goes. And she's pretty much all covered up except for a little bit on her leg right there. One last pour and it'll be done. She'll be completely covered. Isn't that right, Charlotte? Alright, on the, not this last layer, but the layer that I poured before, I guess I put a little too much catalyst. It started to get really hot. The spider started to cook. So there are a few bubbles around the spider where gases wanted to escape. The actual mold started to split and crack, kind of like same way a thick piece of glass would crack. But I cooled it. I ran some water across it and cooled it off, and then I poured my final layer. I backed off a little bit on the hardener and poured the final layer over her, and it kind of seemed to mend the crack a little bit. So hey, it's my first one, so but we'll see. We'll let her sit overnight, and see, you know, go ahead and release her, take her out of the mold, and see what happens. So we're done. Now it's just a curing process. We're just going to let her sit. Anyways, there you go. There you go. Obviously it'll be a lot clearer on the top part. This is basically the bottom. It's probably wrinkly like that because of too much hardener in it, but the underside is still relatively clear. It actually created a pretty effect, a beautiful effect actually, which you probably couldn't duplicate it if you were to try. So, but anyways, hey, she's encased in resin, and we're gonna just let it sit and see how she comes out. Still giving off heat too, still warm. So I don't know, I guess I thought I was on the right track with the resin, and then all of a sudden, boom, I guess I was adding a little too much hardener to it. So oh well, you live and you learn. Alright, well here we are. I've removed the casting from the mold. To get it out of the mold, I put it in the freezer for probably about 10-15 minutes, which contracted the resin enough to where it shrunk to where it dislodged it from this. Then I just put some towels underneath here, flipped it upside down, and it popped right out. So, came out, and for the most part it looks pretty good. It's still a little bit tacky. So I probably should have waited maybe another day. I only waited 36 hours, but it's Christmas Eve. Actually, it's early Christmas morning, and this is going to be a present for my son. So, but in a perfect world, I probably should have waited maybe another day. Remember, on the first part of this, I had trouble with the first layer that I poured, getting it hard enough. And then the remaining layers, they got hard too quickly, but the first layer I had trouble getting it hard, and so maybe if I had the right amount of hardener it would have come out, but I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of imperfection in the surface. It's not as smooth as glass like it should be, but for all intents and purposes I think it came out pretty darn well, considering it's my first one. And I'll get a little closer shot of it for you. There you have it. I put little felt bumpers underneath it here. So, but if you can see, there's kind of a little bit of a mark here where the resin quite wasn't cured enough before I removed it from the glass mold. So if I had waited maybe a couple, 2-3 more days, that mark wouldn't be there. It also could be from when this had split. You can kind of see the crack in here when the second or third layer, I believe it was the third layer, got a little too hot and started to split through the mold. So it's possible it came from that. And I could have put like decorative rock underneath there on one of the layers to make it look like the spider is crawling on gravel or something, but I didn't want to do that. I just wanted it to be a clear mold all the way through. So I think she turned out pretty darn good. A nice little spider, perfectly preserved. And my little plaque there, I printed it out with a laser printer. Tried to emulate like a little wooden background on the print and everything, but it came out all right. Side view and back view. The bottom of it is a little bit textured, almost like privacy glass, and that was probably due to the extra amount of hardener in it. But so not as many bubbles on the top, a little more on the bottom. So the top definitely came out better than the bottom. So I don't know, I'm happy. I think overall, first one and this large of a casting, turned out pretty darn good. So there you have it, Richard Fink signing off. My first casting, and you know what, I'll probably never do it again. This is just a one-time deal. I wanted to give it a try, and this will probably be my last one. So anyways, good night. Merry Christmas. Good night.